Okay, so then in 1993, there was a home invasion situation.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
So when I got out of jail in 91, I violated again, assault and battery. I ended up getting arrested. I went in front of a judge. The judge happened to be at my wedding, nice guy. My father was friends with him also, and I got the case dismissed. So I'm back out on parole. I went in front of the same parole guy that knew my father. He let me out. So this time we're out, and a friend of mine has a fight with his girlfriend. So I was out talking. I was at the local bar we used to hang around with in Springfield, and I was talking with a girl. He comes in and said he had a fight with her family, her brothers, and all this. And I'm friends with all that whole family today as we speak. But when we went, I was also friends with the kid that had the fight with his girlfriend. So we all jumped in the car, went to the house, and we just went in with bats and sticks and just beat the people up inside the house. One of them was an off-duty police officer. That was her brother. He was there, and so we got out of there, and I got away with, we took off. We got out of there. The cops came, but they didn't get us. When she didn't end up pressing charges on them. I originally went to get an alibi. This great man that owned the Huki Lao restaurant, Chinese guy. I said, Johnny, you remember I was here the other night? He said, yeah, I remember. He said, yeah, we had a cognac. I was here till about 1 a.m. He says, yeah, I remember. Now, I wasn't there, but he just gave me the alibi. He said, I remember that night. We had 2 cognacs and you ate. But anyways, I had an alibi to get out of it. But we didn't get charged with it right away. About a few months later, he got into another fight with her. That's when the warrants came out and they arrested about 6 or 7 of us. I was the only one on parole. So I got held without bail. And I had to wait about 9 months. When it came to the trial, they had gotten back together. They got married or whatever. And he ended up pleading guilty, the guy that was beefing with the girl, and he ended up getting 10 years. I got my case to nal pros, they call it, like a dismissal. So that was that, gotcha. And I got out in 93 at that point.
Okay, so you're basically just getting into various situations in and out of jail. And then at one point, you got approached by Big Al,
right,
who was associated with the Genovese crime family.
He was a made man with them. Yeah.
Right. Made man with the Genovese. So how did that relationship come together?
So Adolpho Bruno is kind of like cousins with my mother. On my mother's side, they have the same aunt. So he always referred to me as my cousin. When I was in prison in 1990 for the gun charge, I was getting letters from Anthony DeLavo's wife telling me that, Anthony wants me to be, not in that way, but I was getting messages that Anthony wanted me to be with him when I come out. Bruno was, like I said, relatives with my mother. He wanted me to be with him. And they were younger guys at the time. This was in the 1990, so they had to be maybe in their 40s, younger soldiers in the family. So Bruno was the first one to approach me in 91 when I got out of prison. He came to my house. But I always knew Bruno my whole life. I known him since my little kid. But to officially approach me to have him be with him on record, he came to my house when I got out of prison in 1991.
Okay.
That's how I got on record with him.
Got it. And, the Genovese crime family is one of the 5 families from New York. It was originally started by Lucky Luciano. And eventually it was run by Vincent the Chin Gigante. Did you know Chin Gigante at all, or was that before your time?
That was before it wasn't before my time. He was an older man, but I never met him. Guys that were my bosses, Bruno and them guys, had dealings with them. I had dealings with his family, but not Chin directly. But Bruno, Skyball, all those guys had dealings with Fat Tony Salerno, who he had as the front boss. He went away on the commission case. They had direct dealings with Fat Tony, the Chin and all the other bosses in between.
Okay, so you're not working with Big Al with the Genovese mafia, but you're not a made man at this point.
No.
So what type of things were you doing as I guess you were an associate maybe?
You could call it an associate. I did my own thing. I was heavily involved in the marijuana business. When Al approached me, when I went to prison in the 90s, I went as, like I said, 21 years old. I was a young kid, and I was in a state prison with serious criminals. I got around a couple of them. I got very close with them, and I made a lot of connection. Boston's about 1 hour from Springfield. Springfield's about an hour from everybody. It's an hour from Providence, an hour from Boston, an hour from New Haven, an hour from Albany, 2 hours from the city, if you're driving with a heavy foot. So when I met these guys, I made a lot of connections in the marijuana business. Some cocaine, but mostly marijuana. So when Bruno approached me to be with him, I was making big money selling marijuana that had nothing to do with Bruno. For me to be around Bruno when he wanted me to be around him was to get involved with sports gambling, which I was a degenerate gambler, betting the games. But I also booked the games. When I booked the games, I was my best customer, betting my own office. I always would, so when it came to his rackets, my racket was the marijuana business that Bruno had nothing to do with. And he didn't want, he didn't know I was selling them when he came and approached me. Later on, he would hear stories. People would go to him and said that I'm a drug dealer, Anthony's selling drugs, and I would always deny it. But it was marijuana. It was in Massachusetts, if you got caught with under 50 pounds, it was a misdemeanor. I mean, that's what they classified it as. And you could see today it's legal. So I was heavily involved in that when I was around him, when I first became around him.